It wasn't like we knew the ropes going into Riven. The world was just so different. We were kind of like we were stumbling around trying to find a style for this thing. Most of our stumbling around was still a little bit too much in the direction of Myst. It still had a kind of that romantic architecture.
We were determined to do something better than what Myst was.
We just wanted something that was more dynamic, more alive.
Riven became much larger than what we could have imagined.
We all got together right after Myst. We all got together in Chris Brandcamp's garage, and that became our office.
It's a nice garage. I think we had 12 people upstairs in this garage, just crammed into these little work areas. We moved into the strip mall from the garage, and that was like heaven. Here we had a real office.
And we had brought on a number of people onto the Riven team, and then nobody else could come on because we were out of space.
At that point in time, though, we started building the office. Here we were able to build a real building the same time we're building these virtual buildings. So after a year in the strip mall, we were able to graduate into this to basically do the hard stuff for Riven.
The very first thing we did with Riven was design the whole gameplay for the entire world, which is basically just a blueprint of all of the puzzles that the player will find throughout the environment. We take that blueprint, and from there we begin to design maps of the places and some of the puzzles and how things would work.
And is the whole thing like a solid canopy from the tops of these trees, just create a big...
As dark as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's going to be a difficult part because we want it to be dark. We want it to be when you look up, you just see kind of little bits and pieces of the sky.
Are these things like redwood in size?
Yeah,
vertically as well as...
redwood in size. Not vertically, though. I think they're going to be a lot more squat vertically.
Okay.
Richard van der Wen is somebody we met under these weird circumstances. Robin and I were down demonstrating Myst at some show. I don't even remember exactly which one it was. And this tall, skinny guy walked up to Robin.
He came up in a baseball cap and a big baggy pair of shorts, and I thought he was some kid.
We found out he had worked for Disney and ILM and had been had played a large role in the look and feel of Aladdin.
The designs design sketches he had done were just phenomenal. I couldn't believe it. They were just on target.
It was incredible. It had a level of depth that was the stuff that interested us.
He ended up, I think, giving Riven something that we could have never given it. It was just another voice, and a very strong, mature voice with a lot of talent that was saying, hey, why don't we try doing it in this direction a little bit? Why don't we just kind of push it?
What we're proposing is that you link to this age, and what you see when you get there is right in front of you is this gate, and there's this big sort of lake with canyon walls all the way around. It's at nighttime with the moonlight. Well, the moon is out. Okay. And in the center of this body of water, there's a little rocky island and a big sort of dead-looking tree, perhaps, on top of which they have constructed this gigantic adobe mound, sort of like a wasp's nest looking thing.
After he came, he imbued the whole project with a flavor that was a bit more edgy and strange and odd. It wouldn't have been as cool if he hadn't been around.
Riven became a place to us as we were designing it. Richard and Robin were picturing themselves there. It was part of what we were doing.
Our attempt was to make elements in the Riven world look old and used and broken in. Because you see a lot of computer-generated art that looks plasticky or new or somehow strange. It doesn't look real.
We're used to weathered things. That implies reality. The trip to Santa Fe came out of our need for textures. It's as simple as that. So we got pictures of wood and doors and sand and stucco.
We wanted to take a lot of pictures of, a lot of nice adobes and woods down there. Very old, kind of weathered wood doors and things like that. So we could map them onto our geometry. The huts, the village huts, those are all Santa Fe textures. Even the village doors, all from Santa Fe. It's just extremely important for us when we're creating anything never to do it just for the sake of doing it, just because it's cool, man. We try to really put meaning into every aspect of the world that we're building.
The wark in the game is one of the things that's subtly behind the scenes telling the story. In our backstory of this age, the indigenous people here looked at the wark as the most powerful thing they knew.
Like Eskimos and the whale, it was just kind of a great respect for that animal.
There's a gallows area that we call the wark gallows in the big village area on the jungle island. It's the trapeze handle that you can go up and down on if you figure out how. That's actually a wark gallows where a person would be tied to that handle, and Gan from his throne area would open and close the iris to determine whether that person would live or die. There's a wark that would be underneath that area in a cage in the water, and Gen's handle would open or close it as the person was lowered. And if Gen was feeling particularly wonderful on that day, he would spare the person's life, and if not, the wark would get a tasty meal.
When you finally see the animal, you may or may not understand how it relates to everything else in the game, but you know that this is a part of their culture, and that makes the world a realer place, and it makes the characters more real.
How's it going so far?
Today, when we get done, we'll be done with yesterday's schedule. Does that tell you anything?
No one here had any experience with dealing with actors or casting or costumes or blue screen.
The live action was something that was new for us, for Riven. I don't think we realized how tough it would be. One of the big challenges we were looking forward to was merging a CG object with a live action person. In fact, in one of the scenes, we actually have a scribe run through, jump in a maglev, throw the switch, and turn the thing around while you're watching him. The hoops you have to jump through when you're doing that to make that come alive is incredible.
Okay, we still have speed, we're still rolling. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go!
The rotation thing seemed like that was going to be easy. We didn't actually know exactly how we were going to rotate the guy on the set.
We had to build this huge contraption that rotated at just the same radius that the maglev would rotate, and the lights had to match so that the lighting on the scribe had to match what you would expect.
Action, go. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. Cut.
It ended up being, from our point of view, a very spectacular effect. Hopefully, from the player's point of view, it just looked real. That was what we were shooting for.
The gate room started out with nothing in it. It was just a very cool puzzle.
Richard and I sat together and we came up with ideas to make this room kind of a place of Gen's that would represent so much about him. So okay, great, we had this real pretty, real nice, all these nice ideas, and we built it and we made it so it would rotate, but we were not thinking about the trouble that it would cause when we'd have to render all the different states. There's this one shot, you're standing in the middle of the gate room. You're looking out the door toward a fire marble dome in the distance. There's two doors separating you right in front of that fire marble dome. The inner door that's towards you could be down, or the outer door could be down. So there's two states right there. The fire marble dome could also, instead of spinning, it could be opened into the gold position. So there's two more states. This is all just from one camera angle. The room could be rotated into 5 different directions from that one camera angle as well. It was a nightmare. It was just a nightmare. Because we kept thinking we had all the states done. We kept thinking everything was done for the gate room. We'd send all this stuff upstairs and, they would put it together and it's like, well, no, we're missing these 28 shots or, just endless amounts. It turned into hell.
One strange thing about making a world like this is that there's no sound to it until you're done.
We had made these animations basically with a deaf ear. We didn't know what these animations were going to sound like. We had ideas for what they were going to sound like, but when the sound is put into them, it really makes them real. I mean, it makes them come alive for us.
The basic thing that we're doing with these, with Riven, is presenting a place, building a place that we would want to go to.
It makes you take a step back from the world and think about the place you're in.
The best feeling of all comes at the very end when you finally get to see how all those things that you designed, all the complexity that you put into this environment and just hoped it would work, it comes together and it works.